You won't want to miss this. Before we jump in, hit subscribe, like this video, and drop a comment. Trust me, you'll be glad you did. The injector coil refused to seat properly. Laurent Vesh exhaled sharply, his patience wearing thin. He wiped his arm across his forehead, only to smear a streak of grease over his already sweat-drenched skin. Come on, you stubborn piece of... He gritted his teeth and twisted the wrench with everything he had. With a final, reluctant pop, the component snapped into place. Ha! Got you now. His triumph was short-lived. A shadow fell across the open repair bay, blotting out the golden glow of Argus 9's twin suns. At first, Laurent thought a storm was rolling in, but the darkness didn't pass. The temperature inside the garage dropped several degrees, sending an eerie chill across his skin. Then came the vibration. The floor trembled, the scattered tools on his workbench jittered, and a strange pressure built in his ears, like standing too close to a high-frequency energy field. What the hell? A piercing whine split the air, sharp and unnatural. Laurent doubled over, clutching his head as the unbearable noise rattled his skull. Papers and schematics fluttered wildly, though the garage door remained shut. Then, in a single violent motion, the door tore free from its hinges. Laurent barely had time to dive behind an old hover hauler before the metal slab crashed into the wall with a deafening boom. Dust and sparks filled the air. Through the debris, two figures stepped into his workspace, their silhouettes crisp against the unnatural gloom outside. They were tall, their bodies humanoid, but unmistakably not human. Their skin had a faint iridescence, shifting between deep violet and blue depending on the angle of the dim light. They wore military-grade exoweave uniforms, deep navy with silver trim, adorned with symbols Laurent didn't recognize. A cold weight settled in his gut. This wasn't a local raid. This was something much worse. Laurent Vesh, the taller of the two, spoke, his voice oddly modulated, as if filtered through layers of artificial translation. His mouth moved slightly out of sync with the words. By order of the Celestial Concord, your presence is required. Laurent blinked. The what now? Do not resist, the shorter one said, lifting a sleek, data slate-like device that emitted a soft blue glow. You have been selected under the Genetic Continuity Initiative. Your cooperation is strongly advised. Laurent's mind raced. Genetic continuity? What the hell did that mean? Look, I don't know what this is about, he said carefully, slowly rising to his feet, hands raised in what he hoped was a non-threatening gesture. But if this is some kind of shakedown, you've got the wrong guy. I fix engines. Not. The taller one sighed. They always want to do this the complicated way. Before Laurent could react, the shorter alien flicked a control on his device. A beam of pulsing blue light struck Laurent in the chest. His entire body locked up. He couldn't move. Couldn't even blink. His muscles froze mid-motion, leaving him standing there like a grotesque statue, mouth still slightly open in protest. Paralysis field engaged, the shorter alien announced, tapping a few controls. Subject immobilized. Ready for transport. Laurent screamed internally. His heart pounded, panic crashing over him in waves, but his body refused to respond. The taller alien approached, looking almost apologetic. The effect is temporary. Full mobility will return once we reach the station. Now, let's get you properly processed. As the room distorted around him, a crushing force wrapped around his senses. Then, with a stomach-lurching jolt, he was gone. The sensation of being ripped from one reality to another was unlike anything Laurent had ever experienced. It was as if he'd been pulled through space rather than across it. For a brief, disorienting moment, he saw blinding streaks of light, felt his body unravel into threads of static energy, and then, solid ground beneath his feet. He gasped, stumbling as control returned to his limbs. His knees nearly buckled, his stomach twisted in protest, and his skin buzzed as if every nerve had been overcharged. The world around him was wrong. He was standing in what looked like a grand lobby, but one that defied physics. The architecture was sleek, metallic, and impossibly fluid. The walls shifted, flickering between solid forms and transparent windows into the vastness of space. Beyond them, a planet hung suspended, not Argus 9, but something impossibly distant, ringed with glowing satellites. Loran swallowed hard. He wasn't on his homeworld anymore. "Welcome to the Union Nexus," a smooth voice greeted him. Turning, he saw a new figure. Unlike the two who had taken him, this one's silver hair moved as if suspended in water. Their violet skin was lighter, their expression unreadable, and their form-fitting uniform was made of living metal, shifting subtly like liquid armor. "My name is Director Kayles, Overseer of Integration Protocols." Loran scowled, bracing himself. "Mind explaining why I was just abducted?" Kayles gave a patient smile. "You were requisitioned, not abducted. There is a difference." Loran exhaled sharply. "Feels about the same on my end." Kayles gestured, and a massive holographic display materialized in the air beside them. Rotating DNA strands intertwined with symbols Loran didn't recognize, some fusing with alien genetic structures in impossibly complex sequences. "You have been selected under the Celestial Genetic Accord," Kayles explained. "Humanity possesses a unique biological trait. Your species is genetically adaptable in ways no other known race can replicate. You are a universal genetic bridge." Loran stared at the hologram, his mind spinning. "You're saying humans can breed with aliens?" "Among other things," Kayles confirmed. "Your species also exhibits remarkable psychological flexibility, allowing for unprecedented cross-cultural compatibility. Simply put, humanity has the potential to prevent the genetic stagnation of many species within the Celestial Federation." Loran clenched his jaw. "And I didn't get a say in this." Kayles flicked his wrist, and the display changed. Footage of a grand diplomatic signing ceremony played before Loran's eyes, Earth's leaders, shaking hands with alien emissaries, documents being signed, trade agreements finalized. "The benefits granted to your homeworld in exchange were substantial," Kayles continued. "Advancements in medicine, energy, spacefaring technology. Your leaders agreed this was a necessary trade." Loran exhaled sharply, dragging a hand through his hair. "So, what happens now?" "Now, you have 30 Earth days to select a partner from our pre-screened candidates," Kayles said smoothly. "Failure to do so will result in your placement within the genetic reserve." Loran narrowed his eyes. "And that is?" Kayles smiled thinly. "Let's focus on ensuring you don't need to find out." The doors behind them slid open, revealing a vast ballroom illuminated by ethereal light. Floating platforms at varying heights held beings of countless species, each one watching with careful scrutiny. As Loran stepped forward, whispers rippled through the crowd. "That's the human. His musculature is promising. I've heard they can endure extreme radiation exposure. Do you think he truly understands mechanical repair without psionic enhancement?" Loran sighed, rubbing his temples. "This," he muttered under his breath, "is officially the worst day of my life." And somehow, he had the feeling it was only going to get worse. Loran's pulse pounded in his ears as he stepped deeper into the surreal ballroom, every sense straining to process the impossible world around him. The floor beneath his boots was smooth, reflective, and seemingly made of some mineral that shifted colors depending on the angle of the starlight. The ceiling wasn't a ceiling at all. It was an open expanse of deep space, a vast nebula stretching across the sky, its swirling blues and purples casting an ethereal glow over the chamber. The floating platforms held beings from 100 different species. Some were humanoid, like the iridescent-skinned aliens who had abducted him, but others were anything but. He caught glimpses of creatures with multi-jointed limbs, glowing exoskeletons, coiled tendrils that pulsed with bioluminescence, and at least one being that looked like a sentient cloud of electrical energy. What was even more disturbing was that they were all watching him. Loran swallowed hard, resisting the urge to turn around and bolt. He didn't know where he'd go, anyway. He was on a space station orbiting a planet he didn't recognize, abducted by aliens who thought he was some kind of universal genetic asset. The only way forward was to play along, at least until he figured out how to escape. "Remain calm," Director Kaylee said smoothly, walking beside him with his hands clasped behind his back. You are the guest of honor tonight, after all. Yay! Loran muttered under his breath. Funny, I don't remember RSVPing. Kaylee's chuckled. Sarcasm. A common human defense mechanism. That adaptability is part of what makes your species so fascinating. Loran rolled his shoulders, shaking off the last traces of the paralysis beam's lingering effects. His body still felt slightly off-kilter, but his instincts told him that the best way to survive this situation was to get as much information as possible. All right, Kaylee's, he said, keeping his voice low. Why don't you tell me what's really going on here? Because something tells me this isn't just about me getting a hot alien girlfriend and a one-way ticket to paradise. Kaylee's inclined his head slightly, leading him toward a raised platform at the center of the ballroom. It was surrounded by a gravity ring, a shimmering force field that distorted the air like a heat mirage. As they stepped onto it, the gravity adjusted automatically, making the ground feel lighter beneath Loran's feet. You're correct in assuming there is more at stake than personal companionship, Kaylee said. With a wave of his hand, a new holographic projection appeared, this one displaying a series of star systems, each marked with complex energy signatures and planetary data. Loran's eyes flicked across the glowing map. I have no idea what I'm looking at. This, Kaylee said, gesturing to a cluster of planets highlighted in deep red, is what we call the genetic bottleneck crisis. Loran frowned. Sounds bad. It is. Kaylee's tapped the air, and the projection zoomed in on one of the planets. It was massive, with deep blue oceans and a network of glowing cities stretching across its surface. For thousands of years, the oldest species of the celestial concord have faced a slow but inevitable decline. Their genetic structures, once diverse and adaptable, have become too refined, too rigid. Birth rates have plummeted. Entire civilizations are now facing extinction by stagnation. Loran scratched his jaw, trying to wrap his head around it. So, you're telling me you need fresh blood, and humans just happen to be compatible with everyone? Kaylee smiled. Not everyone, but 97.8% of sentient species tested. Loran let out a low whistle. Damn. We must be the galactic equivalent of universal donors. Kaylee's inclined his head. Precisely. Your genetic plasticity is unlike anything we've seen before. It allows for interbreeding without the risk of fatal incompatibilities. More importantly, humans seem to possess a unique ability to synchronize with other species at a psychological level. Your adaptability is not just physical. It is emotional, cultural. It is unprecedented. Loran crossed his arms. Okay, but why the abduction? Why not just, I don't know, set up an interstellar dating app and let people find each other naturally? Kaylee sighed, as if anticipating the question. Because your world was reluctant. Earth's leaders agreed to the accord under strict conditions, one of which was limiting knowledge of the program among the general population. They feared chaos, resistance, cultural upheaval. So, rather than opening the floodgates all at once, we began with a curated selection process. Loran felt his stomach sink. You mean a forced selection process? Kaylee's didn't confirm or deny it. Instead, he gestured toward the gathered crowd. Regardless of how you arrived, you are here now. And tonight, you will meet those who seek compatibility with your species. Before Loran could protest, a voice rang out from the platform above. Ladies, gentlemen, and distinguished beings of the Concord, an announcer's voice boomed. We present to you the first of the Earthborn candidates. Loran's blood ran cold as a spotlight locked onto him. A ripple of murmurs and whispers spread through the crowd. A dozen different voices spoke at once. A pure human? Unmodified. Remarkable bone density. Do you think he has latent psionic potential? He's quite rugged-looking. Loran fought the urge to shrink back. He suddenly felt like a prized animal at an interstellar auction, being examined, scrutinized, categorized. Then, before he could react, the first candidate stepped forward. She was tall, her deep violet skin marked with faint silver sigils that shimmered like living tattoos. Her dark, braided hair was adorned with small metallic rings, and the flowing robes she wore barely concealed the athletic build beneath. She moved with precision, her gaze sharp as a blade. "I am Commander Soraya Velka of the Velkari Empire," she said, her voice smooth but carrying a dangerous edge. "And I challenge you." Loran blinked. "Challenge me?" She drew a sleek, curved blade from her belt. "In my culture, compatibility is proven through combat. If you are to stand beside me, you must prove your strength." Loran took an involuntary step back. "Yeah, see, where I'm from, we usually start with coffee, not duels to the death." Before Soraya could reply, another figure cut in. A woman in a high-collared coat, her silver-augmented eyes gleaming with artificial intelligence. She carried a data pad in one hand, her fingers scrolling through information at a speed too fast for any human to follow. "I am Dr. Lyrian Var, head geneticist of the Syndicate of Minds." She tilted her head, studying him like a lab specimen. "I have no interest in physical combat. What interests me is your genetic structure. You are an anomaly, and anomalies require study." Loran swallowed hard. Then a third voice, loud, excited. "Forget duels and science experiments. He should be mine." A woman with flowing iridescent hair and glowing jewelry strutted forward, her camera drones whirring around her. "I am Harley Avena, and I am the highest-rated social icon in the Concord. This human will be my next co-star. Just imagine the views." Loran's head spun. A warrior, a scientist, and a celebrity, all circling him like predators sizing up prey. He turned to Kaylee's. "This has to be some kind of bad joke." Kaylee's only smiled. "On the contrary, Loran. The selection process has begun." Loran's mind raced as he stood at the center of the grand ballroom, three vastly different women circling him like territorial predators. The weight of the spotlight burned down on him, the gathered alien dignitaries murmuring amongst themselves. His stomach churned, not just from lingering teleportation sickness, but from the unsettling realization that he was no longer in control of his own fate. Commander Soraya Velka, the warrior, stood with her arms crossed, her sharp gaze analyzing every inch of him like he was a weapon in need of testing. Dr. Lyrian Var, the scientist, adjusted the holo-display hovering above her wrist, scanning his biometric readouts as if he were nothing more than a biological curiosity. And Harley Avena, the galactic celebrity, grinned as her floating camera drones zipped around them, broadcasting his every reaction to an audience of billions. Loran swallowed hard. This was a nightmare. Soraya took a step forward, unsheathing her ceremonial blade, its sleek, curved edge gleaming under the ethereal light of the floating nebula above. "In Velkari tradition," she said, rolling her shoulders as though preparing for battle, "compatibility is proven through strength. If you are to be considered a worthy partner, you must face me in combat." Loran immediately held up his hands. "Yeah, see, we don't really do trial by mortal combat where I'm from. How about we just talk? Have a drink? Maybe start with some basic questions about our hobbies." Soraya narrowed her eyes. What better way to understand one another than through the clash of skill and will? She pointed her blade at his chest. "I will not be bound to someone who lacks the strength to stand at my side." Loran took a cautious step back, but before he could formulate a better excuse, Dr. Lyrian Var let out a dramatic sigh. "This is a waste of valuable data collection time," she muttered, tapping at her holo display. "We do not need to engage in outdated rituals of physical dominance to determine genetic viability." Soraya turned her sharp gaze toward the scientist. "A mate who cannot fight is a mate who cannot survive. That is the Velkari way." Lyrian barely looked up from her display. "Strength is an outdated metric. Intelligence is far more important. Unlike you, I am actually interested in what makes him useful." She turned her cool, mechanical gaze to Loran. "Your physiology is already anomalous. That alone is reason enough to study you. If your genetics can be successfully integrated, you may hold the key to solving the Federation's long-standing crisis." Loran stiffened. "Study me? That's a little unsettling. Just how intensive are we talking here? Lyrian's expression remained unreadable. Nothing invasive. At first. Halia, the socialite, clapped her hands together with a delighted laugh. Oh, you two are doing this all wrong. You don't study a human, and you don't fight a human. You entertain them. Loran turned to see Halia striking a picture-perfect pose, her drones capturing every angle. I mean, look at him. His rugged, his mysterious, and his completely out of his depth. The audience is going to eat this up. I can already see the numbers spiking. Loran frowned. Wait, are you streaming this? Right now? Halia winked. Of course, darling. You're currently the hottest thing in the Celestial Concord, and I intend to make you my new co-star. She gestured to a floating display, which suddenly expanded, revealing a real-time viewer count in the billions. His face, his actual face, was plastered across the screen, alongside headlines that made his stomach drop. Breaking. The first human candidate revealed. Alien Bachelorette Showdown. Who will win the human? Is this the future of galactic relations? Loran let out a strangled noise. You have got to be kidding me. Soraya scoffed. This is absurd. The Velkari do not engage in spectacle. Halia's smile didn't falter. Oh, sweetheart, everything is a spectacle if you have the right audience. Lyrian, finally seeming to reach her limit, pinched the bridge of her nose. Enough. We are wasting time. Kaylee's, what are the selection criteria for this farce? Loran turned to find Kaylee's standing just outside the spotlight, his silver hair flowing weightlessly, his expression unreadable as ever. The director's liquid metal uniform shifted subtly as he clasped his hands behind his back. The selection process is fluid, Kaylee said smoothly. Each candidate will engage with Loran in a way that is most natural to their culture. There is no single test. There is only compatibility. Soraya straightened, gripping the hilt of her sword. Then let us begin. The combat trial stands. Lyrian huffed. I will not engage in archaic rituals. Instead, I request a full neurological and genetic assessment. Halia just beamed at the camera drones, flipping her luminescent hair. Oh, honey, we're already winning the popularity contest. Loran took a deep breath, resisting the urge to scream. Okay, pause. Let's say I play along with all this. What happens if I don't pick anyone? Kaylee's tilted his head slightly. Then you will be transferred to the genetic reserve for indefinite cryostasis. Loran's stomach plummeted. Cryostasis. As in, frozen. For how long? Kaylee's remained impassive. Until a decision is made. Loran exhaled sharply. He didn't like this. Not one bit. But fighting back wouldn't work, and running wasn't an option. He needed time. Time to figure out how to escape. He forced a tight smile and squared his shoulders. All right. Fine. Let's do this. But I'm setting one rule. Soraya raised an eyebrow. And that is? Loran crossed his arms. No duels. No experiments. No galactic reality TV. He shot a glare at Halia, who only smirked. If you all want to get to know me, you're going to do it my way. Lyrian arched an eyebrow. And what is your way? Loran cracked his knuckles. You learn about me by watching me do what I do best. He gestured toward the floating platforms, toward the station itself. You all want to talk about compatibility? Well, I'm a mechanic. I don't do politics or combat trials. But I can fix things. Kayla's eyes gleamed with subtle amusement. An interesting proposal. Loran smirked. Give me one day. Let me work on your technology, and you'll see what I bring to the table. The gathered aliens murmured amongst themselves, clearly not expecting such a counteroffer. Even Soraya looked mildly intrigued. Kaylee's gestured with a single fluid motion. Very well. We shall see what value a human mechanic can offer. And with that, Loran's fate was sealed. But in that moment, as he saw the shifting expressions around him, he realized something important. For the first time since his abduction, he had just bought himself leverage. Loran stood in front of a massive, sleek starship engine, its intricate plasma conduits humming faintly with barely contained energy. The engine bay was enormous, lined with diagnostic consoles that blinked with complex alien schematics he could barely make sense of. It had been less than a day since his abduction, and now, somehow, he was in a high-tech maintenance bay, surrounded by some of the most powerful people in the Celestial Concord, all watching his every move. Soraya stood with her arms crossed, eyes narrowed in suspicion. Dr. Lyrian Var hovered nearby, her holodisplay tracking his every biological response like a hawk. Halia leaned casually against a nearby console, smirking at the camera drones still broadcasting his predicament to billions. And, of course, Director Kayleys watched from a distance, observing like a patient strategist waiting for the next move in a game only he understood. No pressure, right? Loran exhaled, flexing his fingers as he rolled up his sleeves. All right. I don't know exactly how your tech works, but an engine is an engine. Let's see what we're dealing with. He stepped forward and placed a hand against the main plasma coil housing. The moment he touched it, a faint vibration ran up his arm, a subtle electric hum that sent shivers through his skin. Something was off. Loran frowned. He wasn't an engineer in the academic sense. He didn't have fancy degrees or certifications. But he had spent his entire life fixing things with his hands, and he knew when something was on the verge of catastrophic failure. You've got an instability issue, he said without hesitation. The plasma regulators are desyncing from the primary drive. If this thing fires up in its current state, you'll be looking at a chain reaction that'll turn this bay into a miniature supernova. Lyrian's head snapped up. That is impossible. Our engineers would have detected such an issue. Loran gestured toward the vibrations beneath his fingertips. Then tell me why I can feel it just standing here. Soraya stepped forward, eyes sharp. If he is correct, we must confirm immediately. Lyrian huffed, but with a flick of her fingers, she pulled up the engine's diagnostic display. Rows of alien script scrolled rapidly across the screen. Then, suddenly, several warning symbols flashed red. Loran smirked. Told you. Lyrian stared at the screen, her jaw tightening. This is unexpected. Halia laughed. Oh, this is perfect. The audience is eating this up. Human mechanic outsmarts Federation scientists. I swear, the engagement numbers just doubled. Loran ignored her, already reaching for a nearby toolset. I can fix it. But I need to know, do your power relays have a manual override? Soraya nodded. They do. What do you require? Loran grabbed a tool that looked almost like a wrench but had a strange, holographic interface. He didn't entirely understand it, but tools were universal. If it had a grip, he could figure it out. I need you to manually reset the core flow stabilizers, and I'll adjust the regulator manually. Lyrian hesitated. That process is highly delicate. If you miscalculate, you could. Loran shot her a look. It's already unstable. You don't want to see what happens if I don't fix it. Lyrian pursed her lips but finally nodded. Fine. Proceed. Soraya moved swiftly, her warrior instincts taking over. She strode toward the power conduit panel, gripping the manual reset lever. On your mark. Loran took a deep breath. 3, 2, now. Soraya yanked the lever. The entire room shuddered as the engine roared in protest. The vibrations intensified. For a split second, Loran thought he'd miscalculated. But then, as he twisted the regulator just right, the vibrations suddenly smoothed out. The engine hummed. Then, it settled into a steady, stable pulse. Loran exhaled and wiped the sweat from his brow. There. Fixed. A moment of stunned silence followed. Then Soraya let out a satisfied grunt. Impressive. Lyrian scanned the display, and for the first time since he met her, her expression was one of genuine intrigue rather than cold detachment. You diagnosed the issue faster than any of our engineers. And without instruments. Halia grinned, her drones capturing everything. Oh, sweetheart, You just went galactic viral. They love you. Loran sighed. Great. Fame. That's exactly what I needed right now. Kaylis finally stepped forward, his liquid metal uniform shifting subtly. You have proven your value, Loran Vesh. You are not just a genetic asset, but a skilled problem solver. That is rare among species of your technological level. Loran folded his arms. So what? I fix an engine, and suddenly I'm worthy. Kaylis smiled faintly. In a way, yes. You have earned respect. Loran frowned. And what does that mean, exactly? Kaylis gestured toward Soraya, Lyrian, and Halia. It means the choice is yours. Loran's gut twisted. You mean I actually get a say in this? Soraya tilted her head. Of course. A warrior does not take an unwilling partner. Lyrian adjusted her display. Data integrity is paramount. Forced participation would compromise results. Halia tossed her hair. And I never force a co-star. If there's no chemistry, there's no show. Loran ran a hand through his hair. A day ago, he was just a mechanic, fixing speeders and trying to make a quiet life for himself. Now, he was at the center of an interstellar conflict, his choices carrying galactic consequences. He looked at the three of them. Soraya. Fierce, disciplined, a warrior with unshakable loyalty. Lyrian. Brilliant, analytical, a scientist pushing the boundaries of knowledge. Halia. Charismatic, unpredictable, a woman who turned everything into a spectacle but saw the universe in ways no one else did. And then there was Kaylis, still watching, still waiting. Loran took a deep breath. Here's the thing, he said, his voice steady. I don't want to be forced into anything. But I also don't want to let my planet get screwed over because some politicians signed a deal they didn't understand. Kaylis nodded. What do you propose? Loran smirked. A real partnership. Not just with one person. With the Federation. He gestured at the starship engine. You need human ingenuity as much as you need our genetics. So if we're doing this, we do it on equal terms. A ripple of murmurs spread through the watching aliens. Soraya's eyes gleamed. You seek to forge your own path. Lyrian arched an eyebrow. An unexpected variable. Halia grinned. Oh, now this is getting interesting. Kaylis studied him for a long moment. Then, finally, he nodded. Very well, Loran Vesh. You have rewritten the terms of the Cosmic Accord. Humanity will not merely be participants, they will be partners. Loran let out a slow breath. He had done it. For the first time since this insanity began. He was free. And somehow, he had just changed the fate of the galaxy.